Welcome to CROWNCAST, episode 2. So, episode 1 went viral. My mom and seven other people watched it.
Tens and tens of plays.
And I think we just edged out Joe Rogan's podcast for top podcast in the nation.
I mean, we're episode 2, so we're pretty much seasoned pros.
Seasoned veterans.
Podcast professionals.
Right.
We've got all the kinks worked out. It's
Cool.
going to be amazing.
So today we want to go over a project that just finished.
Yeah.
It is the New Hope Christian Center Church
New Hope
job.
Christian Church Center.
Something like that.
Yeah.
New Hope is what I call it.
Yeah. New Hope for short. That's what we say.
Where's this job?
This is up in Indiana. So Whitestown, Indiana. It's outside of Indianapolis. So definitely out of our neighborhood here. This was not a local job, obviously.
I'd never been up there before. I mean,
Yeah.
I live in Paradise here in Florida.
Right.
I don't know why I'd go there, but nice people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been there a lot traveling before, but it's always a bit of a challenge being out of town. Just out of town. Out of town in Florida is a challenge, but going out of state is kind of a whole different level.
Logistical nightmare.
Logistical nightmare on every level.
Yeah.
So
We're going to get into that today.
yeah.
Driving the truck up, bringing pre-commissioning racks here, bringing it up, doing the whole thing.
Shipping, yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Every time I was up there, especially with Keegan, every Uber that we took, they're all like, "Oh, y'all heading over this area? It's the bougie part of town." I was like, "Why does everyone think we're so bougie?" We had like a bougie, I don't know, like
Vibe?
a bougie vibe. I don't even know why. I think I was just wearing this stuff, but
So that's New Hope area? Is some kind of a bougie area?
well,
Like
it's
an up and coming area?
no.
or-
Well, I don't know. They kept saying areas that I didn't know about. I'm like, well, we're going to Whitestown. We're doing this project. The area that they're in apparently has grown pretty quick.
Yeah.
So Luke, one of our boys, he's from that area.
Yeah.
And he's seen it in the last 5 years. Just that little section, just boom, blow up.
Right.
They got a lot of churches in the area. Apparently, a lot of cool churches.
Yeah.
New Hope is it's a pretty old church. I met a guy there that has 6 generations of family members that have gone to that church.
That's crazy.
He's actually in government there. And last time I talked to him, he was heading to Brazil with the governor to do some like trade thing. So so we're talking to him. He's telling me all the his family members. So like, I don't know, great grandma, something like that.
Yeah.
And then went
All
on
the way
down.
down.
And then now he has kids and grandkids that go to that church. It's kind of cool.
I mean, yeah, we've been in the church world long enough to know if a church lasts that long. I mean,
Right.
they got some solid roots.
Right. And that was one of their big worries. Up to launch, they were constantly talking about, we don't want to be the big mega church thing, which I totally understand. Like, just so you know, we don't only work with mega churches. Right. We think there's places for all these churches. We think there's places for all these different types of gatherings. I mean, there's different types of people. You're going to have different types of churches. You're going to have different types of styles of worship. So they were very concerned about like, all right, we're doing this bigger room. It's like modern. We don't want it to be too modern. We want it to still be traditional. We still want to have family. It's like all about family. It's all, which I love.
Yeah.
But they were very concerned, and I think we pulled it off. I think the design and the way it looks and the way it sounds, everything lends itself to like a modern traditional. That's what I'd call it.
Yeah, it's tasteful. That's
Very
the word
tasteful.
I always like to use for it.
Yeah.
And in some projects, they don't really care about tasteful. They want big, everything, bright, big sound, big stuff, because it's very production driven.
Yeah. You go wild. There's some taste in that too.
Yeah, there is. But in cases like this, where it is a more traditional church, they are way more concerned with that kind of stuff, and especially with they're members of the church and they're givers and they're used to a certain thing, and then they walk into this brand new place. It looks completely different,
right?
And there's bells and whistles for sure.
Right.
There's some eye candy for sure on the production stuff. But yeah, we do it with taste, and they can grow into it, and they don't have to go crazy wild show with it, but they could if they wanted. But they can tone it down. They can just use whites with the lights and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and we're going to show that.
Right.
So they did want to, dip their toes in.
Right.
They didn't want to have like a sensory overload.
Yeah.
Like all these people to come in and like, they have an older congregation. Actually it was a really good mix. They had youngins there. I was like, oh dang, these hip cool kids are hanging out with all these old people. It was a really good blend.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't want to give people heart attacks.
Yeah.
I mean, we could if we wanted to.
That's a good mix, though. I like when it's young to old. There's some new blood that have the new ideas and stuff, but there's the old wisdom that's there, and helping to hold things together. I think it's a good mix, and
yeah, that's one of the big benefits of community churches is that you get the mix of age, you get that wisdom, you get that interaction between the young people and the old people.
Right.
That's what we're losing is people stop going to church. Like now what, you're just only hanging out with young people your own age and you're not gleaning from that wisdom. But anywho.
Yeah. It's a cool project though.
Yeah.
It's not outside of our box because we check a lot of boxes with designs and stuff that we do, but it isn't the typical square, big production mega church building.
Right.
It's more traditional and aesthetic looking and architectural features and that kind of stuff that all plays into the role of AV stuff as we're going through the design.
Right. So how do we get this project? How'd that happen? Do you remember?
This came through Luke. Actually, that contact through Luke, what we were talking about before, he grew up in that area and actually went to that church, I'm pretty sure, and knew they were going to be building a new building.
Right.
And this was years ago. Well, these projects take years. That's a podcast. People don't know. We work on projects for years. Yeah. A lot of times.
But, this was like a couple years in the making.
Yeah.
So I think 2 years of contact, from first contact, I guess.
Yeah. It was just a lot of our projects happen that way where we have just a connection with somebody.
Right.
Because we're pretty personal and that goes a long way. So it kind of just started through Luke and then we made a contact with them. And obviously you have to still show that you're a reliable company and trusting and can do it, can actually do the job. So
yeah, I heard a couple people from their leadership say things like, I don't know why we're hiring this Florida company to come all the way up here and do this. He goes, but after I've seen you guys work and after seeing the project, I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 of their leadership said that. And I was like, well, yeah, there's a reason. Like this doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
And this is creative. This is technical. This is, managing a massive project. So it doesn't just happen. There's only one Crown Design Group, and we just happen to be in Florida.
Yeah, it makes it more challenging that it's out of state, but I think it was well worth it. I think it's a cool job. I think it's a different look, and it's fun to make happen. So
yeah, so we just finished this. So we launched it. They had their first services this Sunday.
Right.
So I was there. We've got a bunch of pictures. We're going to go through this whole design right now. We're going to go through the design, site management issues, the whole thing, and walk you through it. Really, what exactly we did. So
yeah, I say we just jump into it.
Well, want to do a commercial break?
Sure.
All right, commercial break.
AVL systems are great when they work and a nightmare when they don't. Well, we've come up with a solution for when they don't. CROWNCAST is our subscription-based service program where you get 24/7 support, 24/7 critical system monitoring, and a host of other goodies. If you're interested in CROWNCAST, please give us a call or contact us through our website.
Okay, we're back. Thank you, commercial.
Cheers.
For all the money you're giving us, or not, because it's probably our company.
Yeah, how does that
CROWNCAST. So yeah, let's jump into it. So this project, Whitestown, Indiana, traditional church, New Hope. They were currently, I guess before, now they're in the new one. Before they were in a smaller room. It was a second or third edition. So this building is just kind of like grown, expanded. Like the old section turned into the kids wing, and then it went to the next building, and then this is a pretty significant addition. This building, it was a lobby area, main auditorium, production suites, classrooms, green room, and like a conference rooms. So it was a pretty large addition, and it wasn't just like, all right, let's do a big box. We want it to be aesthetically pleasing. We want it to retain the DNA of their church. Yeah. But bring it up a little bit. Yeah. Make it a little bit more new. Make it a little bit more modern, but not without losing the I don't know what the word is, the DNA, that little bit of New Hope that they really want to retain.
Yeah, they wanted to modernize what they had, and the space they had was too small. So that was their main issue. It wasn't like the building was falling apart. It was just too small, and they were having multiple services and that whole thing.
Want to turn that monitor on?
Oh yeah.
So I've got some video of of their old room. So let's take a look. So you can see small stage, kind of a funny ceiling. I guess I kind of did that to hide front lighting, which is on, it's like on a rail. And then, it probably seated, what do you think, Ben?
Their old one?
Yeah. What do you think? 250?
Yeah, maybe like 300, maybe.
Yep. So, pretty standard. This is a pretty standard looking room. Pretty standard looking, this is kind of how you start when you're doing these projects. But let me take a look at some other ones here. So then we have front of house area. They had some cameras. They're rocking the SQ6. I think we got that for them. I think that was an addition that we did a year before they moved in. So we're like, you might as well buy, if you need a new console, you might as well buy something that we'll use in the next phase, in that next building.
Yeah, we do that a lot too, I think, in building projects, because like we said, they take a long time. It just doesn't happen in, a couple months. It's a couple of years usually.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of times their equipment will be kind of worn out or old. Yep. So they will pre-purchase basically some equipment that they're going to use for the new building anyway.
Yep.
And that way they can just go ahead and start using it.
Right.
And get used to it.
Yeah, start training on it.
Yeah.
Here's a rack in the back. Those are their speakers. I don't know what they were. And I don't know if that mount is legal, but...
What is above the drop ceiling?
It looks like a Home Depot special. No offense to anyone out there that installed that, but...
Hey, making it happen.
I think we have new methods now.
It stayed up.
Well, it didn't fall. It didn't kill anyone, so win there. But, needless to say, we did not utilize their old PA. We got them a new PA.
Big upgrade.
Big upgrade. Okay, so that was our old room. So pretty traditional, and then they're going to be building on that. So let's jump into the design. We can take a look at the design real quick. See some of the creativity. All right, so here's my design document. All right, so here's some concepts. Once again, Crooked Eye Keegan, my bro, did a great job conceptualizing this room. There's a lot of creative elements to this room. We helped design the shape of it, the stage, the side walls, the ceiling clouds, the front of house, the production suite, the rack room. Like, we had a lot of fingerprints on this thing.
Yeah, we had a lot of input in this building.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is the equation for a great, successful project.
Well, we think differently.
Right.
So we're not architects, but we can still think that way with walls and shapes and placements of things. And we're not electricians, but we think that way too, and thinking through future use of things and items. But yeah, we're creative people, so we can think that way too. Even as far as like interior design stuff, I mean, we're really helping shape rooms and designing these walls and the ceiling clouds, like you said.
Yep. A lot of that's purposeful too. So it's both an aesthetic thing, but also, we need to limit the amount of parallel walls in the room,
right,
for audio reasons.
Yeah, anytime you can double dip and make
something look cool,
yeah,
and be purposefully built,
right,
to make sound better or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they kind of let us lead on a lot of that stuff, which was great.
Yep.
And we butt heads with architects and stuff all the time on this kind of stuff.
Right.
And sometimes we get pushed in the back seat on it, but we still fight for it. But in some cases we get more lead, we have more pull, and the client is interested in hearing our ideas, and it can turn into stuff like this, which I think is very aesthetically pleasing, and it's a great room for audio and lighting as well.
Right. So this concept here shows the room, shows the sidewalls, some lighting. It shows a screen of some sort in the center and some sort of fixtures on the side. And we can get into this and show you exactly what all that is here. So let me just keep walking through this design real quick. So you can see here, there's a floor plan layout. This was their existing auditorium here. This was all older facility, their old lobby. They have a new lobby area here. Here's the new auditorium backstage. Here's a green room, rack room over here, and then a couple classrooms, new restrooms, and that's the floor plan. Just a couple equipment layouts, some electrical
requirements.
Yeah. So yeah, it's so funny. We're AV dudes, AVL, audio, video, lighting guys, but we have to know a little bit about everything. So we have to know about the architectural drawings.
Right.
We have to know about mechanical, electrical, structural, and so we essentially, for people that don't know, our designs, we take what the architect gives us, and then we modify it, and then we make sure that all the electrical, low voltage, conduit, structural, mechanical, everything works for audio, video, and lighting, because they don't understand. Most architects don't understand.
Right.
Most mechanical people, you're putting up HVAC. How much do you know about the speakers and where they're going to be and all that stuff? They have no clue.
Right. So
really, we have to come in as a jack of all trades, essentially, but king of AVL, and then really be the language.
Yeah.
Really be the mediator between the church, AV, and the rest of the building.
Yeah, and it can get a little testy sometimes on projects. It happens every project, and it's we're not prideful and pushy, but we do come in with real reasons for asking for certain things,
right? And
it can push buttons across the board in all the trades,
right?
Which I kind of see. I mean, they are masters of what they do, obviously, and they know what they do. And then we come in and say, hey, your HVAC can't really be there. We need you to raise it 3 feet or whatever because of sound or lights, whatever. And in their mind, they're thinking it has to be there because of the volume and everything. And but we're taking into consideration the church and their vision and everything that's going on.
Right.
And yeah, is it better to have better sound and lights, or to have your AC vents, 3 feet lower where they want them to be? So we have these conversations on every job with every trade.
Yeah.
HVAC, electrical, we don't get into sometimes playing with the water sprinkler pipes and stuff like that. But what tends to happen is by the end of the job, we've probably gotten in some arguments and had it out with a few people or whatever.
With the builders.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It's that kind of world. But at the end of the job, we're always friends. Everyone's impressed, and they see the end, and they're like, "Oh wow!" Then they get it.
Yeah. Then they love us.
Yeah. Then they love us
because they get to take great pictures of the room that we make look amazing, and they go, "Wow, we can't wait to throw this on our website and make it look really good."
But they don't. I mean, they probably don't see stuff like that. normally.
Maybe not.
Yeah, even if it is another church or something, maybe they don't do heavy production or anything like that, and so it's just normal stuff. But yeah, that is a thing we run into all the time.
Well, we're a third party
that's
to them.
right.
So typically the builder is overseeing all the trades.
Right.
But typically we work directly for the client. And there's pluses and minuses of that. I think it's all pluses for the client because we are a third party that keeps an eye out for them.
Right.
There's no conflict of interest of us having to go to the builder and be like, hey, you messed up.
The builder doesn't typically like it because they don't have control over us.
They don't have control over us.
like the other trades.
Right. Yeah. But that's
we work well with them. We're team players.
Absolutely.
But they're at the beginning when we come in first off and they see our drawings and they're just like, what in the world is all this? Why do you need all this power, this conduit? Blah, blah, you don't need this much stuff. You know, it happens every single time.
They don't understand.
So there's a bit of a friction there, and we know it's going to happen.
Yeah,
because it happens.
Every first trade meeting when I'm on site, it starts with, "I'm a team player.
Yeah,
I'm not a finger pointer.
Right.
I'm here to help. I'm here to work with you guys. You're going to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Let's all figure it out together. Let's all work together because we want this to be awesome." And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, of course." And then later on, then the blame game starts.
Yeah,
we get the finger pointed at us because we're the last ones in all the time.
Oh man, we could do an episode on stories.
100%. 100%. All right, so I'm just gonna kick through this real quick. All these details. Yeah, I mean, not much more to see there.
Yeah, typical design of ours.
Right. So, so we did the drawings. We worked with the church. We kind of hear out their vision for the room.
Right.
We try to take that all in. We have a couple different creative meetings with them so that we kind of fully understand what they're trying to do, because everyone's different.
Yeah.
No, there's no such thing as like especially for us, we don't do packages.
Right.
We don't even do like good, better, best packages.
Right.
We only do the best package.
Right.
Meaning the best for you.
Right.
The best for your budget, the best for your vision, whatever. And there's always limitations to it, but that's what we go for.
Yeah, that is something I think that we do probably different than maybe some other companies, is be that specific with the client. And we don't, like you said, we don't have packages sitting there ready and waiting. So it is a lot of meetings. That design that you saw went through a number of renditions. Even the room, I mean, the room changed a ton. I can't remember how many revisions we did with the stage, with the walls, with the clouds, with the screens.
If you remember, at the beginning of this project, they were asking what direction the stage and everything should go.
Right, the whole orientation of the room.
And we did a couple different drawings.
Right, flipping the room around
to see what would happen.
Yeah, but if you can be more custom that way, I mean, that's the success in it. That's why this job looks completely different than the last one we did.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's totally different.
Yeah. Every client is different, just like an individual.
Right.
And so you need to take it that way. You can't just assume that they want it the way that your last project went.
Right.
You have to hear them out, really take in their DNA. We're saying like clients, the word clients, but we typically call them like our partners, because in these projects, you're hanging out with them for
a couple years,
and then you are working with their team. So like Ben Faust, who's the worship pastor at this church, he's also buddies with Luke.
Right.
They grew up together or whatever. Right. And he's awesome. He was great. Yep. He was great to work with. He was very understanding with I guess his whole team, because he's dealing with different opinions, different age brackets in leadership, and he did a really great job coordinating that and making sure that the central vision of the project worked.
Yes, so it's good to have a contact like that with the church or the client, because they're hearing something in one ear from their church and from the leadership. They're also hearing from the builder and from the architect and the project manager, and then he's kind of pushing it.
And then they're hearing from us.
Then they're hearing from us, and we're trying to make those changes and send him the changes, and it's going to cost this to do this. It was cut this. Let's do that. Then he has to go back and translate everything again to them in words that terms they understand.
Yeah.
So it was a good he was great, and it can be a stressful role.
He's a great guy too. We hung out a bit, went to his place, had burgers. We went out for dinner. He made a killer brisket. They did like a staff. We did a staff day, and he made a killer brisket. It was really good. Ben, kudos on the brisket.
I missed out.
You missed out. But he was that mediator for this whole project, and he did a great job, and it was awesome hanging out with him. I forget where I was going with that. Oh, we just become friends? Is that what I was saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Happens.
It happens. So once we had all that, we did the design, blah, 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 blah. Another massive part of these projects is coordination with the trades. So we had a number of different meetings on site where, our drawings look like electrical drawings. They look like mechanical drawings. They look like all these other trades.
Right.
But sometimes there's little things that they don't understand or they're not used to doing.
Right.
Whether it's a layout for power for LED wall, or it's structural areas for the speaker hangs, or whatever that is. So we go through multiple different coordination meetings with them where like literally like Keegan's on site he brings the drawing, the physical drawing,
right.
Walks it in, drops it down. Here's what you guys are going to be doing. Here's what we're going to be doing.
Right.
Here's what this means. Here's what that means. And let's all be best friends. Let's all make it happen.
Yeah, we're in constant conversation with those guys, especially electrical. We seem to team up with them the most on jobs.
Yep.
Because they're doing all of our conduit runs and all of our power, obviously, which is a lot for our designs.
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of times they're doing stuff they don't normally do. It's still just power, but it is, we may do something special with an isolated ground or something like that. So it may be a little different than what they're used to.
Right.
But yeah, being on site and having those conversations, we have learned is as good as gold.
Yep. It's key.
Yeah. It's because things get missed in the drawings. And if you miss something after they pour the slab, then
it's over.
I mean, we've learned those lessons the hard way, a couple of times over the past 10, 11 years now.
Right.
To where now these meetings mean so much to us, then yeah, we're flying people up there if it's out of state just to have a meeting with somebody on site to make sure they're not missing certain very important electrical components or conduits or something like that.
Right. Now these, the builders for this project were pretty good. Like they were helpful. They kept an eye out on things. They understood what we were asking. There were a couple snafus, a couple things here and there, but we worked through it.
Yeah.
So they were good to work with. They were helpful. Not as much finger pointing at the end, but we were pretty adamant about it at the front. Typically in these projects, we're the last ones in to do the install. Like, it's dust free, carpets down, everything looks like it's done. And then we come in and like hang speakers and all that stuff.
Right.
And so because we're the last ones in, if there's ever any time constraints on the project, they're blaming us because we're the last ones to finish. So we go right away, right at the beginning of these projects, we're like, okay, we will never hold you up. You will never have to wait on us because we could essentially do everything after CO,
right?
After occupancy,
right?
But still, sometimes they're like, "Oh, we're still waiting on Crown to do this." You're like, "You're not waiting on Crown. You're not waiting on Crown. Trust me, we're good." But this project went really well. They were very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, probably one of the biggest challenges with it was the fact that it was in Indiana.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you can run up there. You can run, to Orlando or something for a day. It was a major thing to have, and Ben helped us with that too. Yeah. Being a point person on site to go out and check something if we needed to.
Sure. You want to look at some audio design?
Sure.
So this room was actually kind of complex to do a design for, and I went back and forth actually with L Acoustics. A couple different revisions on the design before I proposed something. So we had a couple things that we had to keep in mind. Budget for the whole project. So that kind of puts you in a world of PA size and quality and everything. Mm-hmm. I'm glad we could get L Acoustics in there because it's quality.
Yep.
And the sizing and the SPL that was required in the room, we hit it. So they're not a crazy, EDM rock and roll
right.
church, obviously. but they're a quality and a full sound, and we hit it. So, but it took a little bit. The room is kind of a diamond shape, a fan out shape, and it was hard to figure out whether or not to do like 3 points or 2 points. And so I think I have this is a 3-point design that we did. And this was A15s and KS21s. And they had this little stage thrust at first. Yep. And this was actually part of our drawings here was, that thrust, it kind of gets in the way because, I get it. It's only for maybe a pastor up there or maybe one worship leader. But that's a microphone on stage. And so now you have to move all your speakers around it. And now you have these weird dead zones that someone could come and get close to these areas and I can't get sound there, especially with the steps.
This is a good example of, like we were saying before, how the designs change as we go through this stuff. Right. And this is just one of the renditions. And not only was the room different, but like the whole audio design's different too. I mean, everything in this, and that's like that on every project. We're constantly trying to make things as best as possible. Yep. Working with the budget and moving stuff around.
Yeah. So this was at a point when the stage looked like this. We ended up doing a different drawing for the stage, and it was a 2-tier stage, but it was actually all in one. So I had like 2 steps. Yeah. But then I had a little more room for the speakers. So then we did another one here. This was a stereo, a more stereo scenario. Yeah. I like that. I think this was more acoustic based design. They came back with this. I don't know. It just didn't. I think it was a little too expensive. A lot of hanging stuff.
Yeah, that was a more pricey option. Yeah. I think is what. And in some cases, that is what determines decisions. Right. At the end of the day, it's how much it costs. So
yeah. But then I think after that stage changed, we were able to put together like a really good drawing here. So this is what we ended up with. So I'm gonna look at this here. So this ended up being 4 hangs of A10i. That's L-acoustic A10i. And the coverage looks really good. Then on the floor, we had 8 KS21s with a bunch of, I think we had 8
X4Is.
X4Is as well. And those ended up being inside the bunkers. But it worked out really well. It worked out really well. If you want to look at the heat map here. Yeah, as soon as it kicks in. It's processing.
Live TV
processing. I don't know why it's not popping up. All right, never mind. Okay, well, we will move on from there. But yeah, this ended up being the design for the PA. It had great coverage and the SPL we needed to hit from front to back.
Yep.
So, all right. So then we, everything gets designed. The project gets a thumbs up. Architects are on board. Trades are on board. Church is on board, obviously. And then it gets to building.
Yep.
They start building it. They start putting in footers and raising up walls. And we had a couple different trips out there at key moments of the project to do site visits, which is very important.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, I mean, there's very key parts in the building process where it's just important to be there and see it with your own eyes so you don't miss out on something because there's no going back.
Right. The heat map just popped up. There it is. So, yeah, it looks really good. And it pretty much sounded like this. If I've gotten used to seeing things and then hearing things, yeah. Go like, oh yeah, look at that heat map. It sounds great. Yeah, that is true. All right.
So during building, so there's construction. Yep. I think another thing is people probably don't realize how involved we are in the construction game. I mean, they see us as like the speakers and lights guy.
Right.
But we're very much involved in construction. I mean, we're on sites all the time with hard hats and everything. Yeah. Like we're out on construction sites constantly.
Scissor lifts and harnesses.
Yeah. No, all the time. So that's kind of our world. But yeah, there's the building going up. And so this is before they're going to pour the slab, You know, they're trenching this in to put all this conduit down.
Right.
And this conduit has to land in a certain location where we know
before you see anything.
Right, but nothing's there. There's no walls, so you're just and they're measuring to make sure it's in the right place because it has to stub up at front of house or wherever.
Right.
Or rack rooms and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So those are like those site visits when we go. This is the stuff we go and look at to make sure conduit's actually in the room and it's landing where it's supposed to land.
Right.
Before they come in and pour major amounts of concrete for the floor.
Yep. Yeah. So these are the tilt walls up. This is actually the rack room area. So when you get on site at this point of the project, it is a little hard to make sense of where things are. It doesn't look the same.
Right.
There's like weird parts of the project where it feels like it's bigger than you thought, and then it's smaller than you thought, and then it's bigger than you thought again, and you can try and visualize it when you're there. You know, you're used to looking at the drawings, and then all of a sudden you're in the room and you're visualizing. Okay, well, yeah, the rack room's over here. Oh, that's what that hole there in the wall's for. That's for our conduit pass-throughs or whatever, right? 'Cause all this has to be pre-cut at the. Well, they can do some cutting on site, but these are all precast tilt walls. So we were on site, helping them visualize what we need, make sure that the conduit's going in the right spot. The EC and the builder and everything on this project, once again, did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, this is the stuff that no one sees usually.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And we don't post a lot of this stuff either, so I think that's why this is cool to kind of show this side of it.
Well, anything for the gram, right? There's our conduit stub out finally. Oh yeah, see, they cut more.
Yep.
Yeah. So this was actually, you see here our low voltage, and then there's also some conduit that's going up to electrical panels. But
yep.
This is a little further in the project. You can see now we have our basic stage, basic layout of the room. You can see the sub bunkers there. So we designed the sub bunkers to be a specific size, specific construction, so that all that low frequency energy is moved in the right direction.
Yeah. So when they pour a stage like that, again,
one and done.
We better make sure our stuff is in the right place.
One and done.
Floor pockets, sub bunkers.
Yep.
If we need electrical somewhere, whatever.
Yep.
Conduit landing in places.
Right.
All that stuff has to be there. There's no going back on a stage like that.
Concrete is a forever thing.
Yeah.
Or a very dusty thing after the fact. So yeah, that was it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So during that time too, we are back in Florida logistically trying to figure out when to submit POs and orders for all this equipment.
Yep.
Trying to time it and so that it lines up perfectly and we get it on time, or hopefully we get it early. You
don't want a PA or a massive pallet of LED panels showing up during construction like that.
Yeah.
Like, where are you going to put it?
Yeah.
It's going to roll out. Some dude's going to grab it.
Yeah. So we're constantly watching the construction schedule, and we're watching our estimated timelines for delivery and that kind of thing with equipment. And then we're trying to manage when to order these things and when to have them shipped and where can they store them somewhere there. So this was kind of a hybrid. We were able to ship some stuff to them because the building was to a point where we could send them the PA and it could be safe and stored inside somewhere.
Right.
I think the LED wall too. But a lot of the other equipment for this job, we ended up shipping to us in Florida.
Right.
And we ended up trucking it up there at some point.
So we had the equipment racks, and essentially any piece of gear that was going in an equipment rack shipped to our shop.
Yeah.
And then we pre-load those racks.
Yep.
And we pre-wire anything we can.
Anything we can do.
And then any other equipment that we had down here, I think their house lights were a batch that we had from our inventory.
Yep.
So we had all that here. Pre-programmed the lights, pre-programmed everything that we can here at the shop. And then we had the team drive it up in our box truck.
Yeah, I think they made 3 or 4 trips on the ground driving up and back.
We drove one of our vans up too.
Yep.
Yeah.
We flew multiple times up there.
Yep.
But we also drove multiple times because we were hauling stuff up there.
Right.
it's just another variable in the whole craziness of this one.
Yep. So I think most of the next pictures are like of the last week or so. So we were on site. We were in the commissioning phase. So there's a couple different phases to these projects. There's the design phase, obviously,
which we talked about a lot.
Yeah, we do the design.
Right.
The procurement phase we just talked about. That means purchasing all the equipment and making sure that we can source it and get it in time and have it on site at the right time or not at the wrong time.
Right.
Then there was the install phase. I don't have too many pictures of that. But
yeah, I think they went up there. I think they did 4 or 5 different trips.
Right.
Going up probably a week at a time.
Cable pull.
Yes.
Is usually the first thing we do.
Yep.
Because it's easier to do these pulls when everything's open and there's just frames up. There's no drywall up yet.
Right. That stuff we can do before things are clean. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So we try to take advantage of that.
So cable pull, and then it was rigging and hanging items.
Yep.
We hung the LED wall, hung the speakers, installed floor pockets. What else?
We eventually did house lighting.
Oh, house lighting. Yep.
That's always a thing.
Yep.
You know, people are ready to take temporary lighting out of the building and want to see lights on.
Yep.
A lot of times we do house lights, so this comes up on a lot of projects as well, where they want the new house lights turned on. Now we can't ever control them because there's no systems in place.
They don't just turn on like magical, like, all right, turn on now.
We could go plug them in and turn them to a manual mode and they just be on forever and you have no control of them. And we do that sometimes. So we did that with this job, I think. That was a little interesting this time because of the clouds. So this project had clouds in the ceiling, which
acoustical clouds.
Yeah, which was ended up being a really nice look.
Yeah.
Ended up being a lot of work for us on the design because we helped lay that out and design that whole setup.
Yep.
And then on site, things were just a little bit different with some of the mechanical stuff, AC, that kind of thing.
It always is.
To where we went ahead, we had to go in and install lights there kind of early before the clouds were there.
I think I was too early.
It was because we put the lights where they should go as if the clouds were there.
Yeah.
But the clouds weren't there. So we're like seeing this big open ceiling and measuring everything we can. We get the lights in. It seems a little weird, the layout, because we're not seeing the clouds as well. Right. And then when the clouds came in, there were some things a bit different with mechanical as the building was built. Just some things changed a little bit. So the clouds ended up moving just a little bit. And we ended up having to go back and like move tons of the house lights and try to straighten them as much as we could after the clouds got there. It turned into more work than we thought for sure.
Yeah, that was a coordination mishap.
Yeah,
like they wanted us to install the lights before the clouds, and we're like, no, we should do it after the clouds because it's harder to move a cloud than it is to move a fixture.
Right.
They're like, no, we need you up there. You're not gonna be able to get up there. And we're like, how much space is in between these clouds? Like 10 feet? Yeah, we can get up there with a lift. We can do anything we want.
Yeah.
No, we gotta. But just a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Well, told you so. We were right.
It's something that we
just
did.
Ended up being more work for us.
It's something we did to
appease,
to please, and be a team player and just do it,
right?
Knowing that it's probably going to have more work at the end, and it did.
Yeah.
But the final result of it, I think, is great. It was a lot of extra work to do those clouds and have them up there and be basically in the way of everything.
Right.
But aesthetically, and that was important to the church to have that. They didn't just want a big black ceiling. They didn't want to go that modern. They wanted something to break it up.
Yeah, it was just a black, and you know their main trussing and their main structural beams, they were pretty pronounced in the room.
Right.
And when they were just in the room looking at the ceiling without the clouds, you could see the zigzag of large structural trussing. That it was a thing in the room. It was a little off-putting.
Yeah.
So these clouds gave a visual cue. We designed them acoustically to reflect the congregational singing a little bit.
Right.
And it felt good in the room. It felt just live enough. They didn't want a super closed, tight room. They didn't want it to be very dead. They wanted it to be a little live. They wanted it to feel a little bit like their old room that didn't have very much treatment, but it was, I mean, their other room was smaller though too.
Right.
But yeah, they did not want like the studio ISO. They wanted a little bit more live. So we decided not to do, it was kind of a budgetary thing too, but there was no like K13 spray foam on the ceiling.
Wasn't anything like that.
We knew that they were going to carpet the floors, which was great. We knew that we were going to have a good percentage of walls acoustically treated by us. Mm-hmm. And so it felt like, I'm like, okay, we're going to be good to go on this. And it felt great. Yeah. It felt really good in the room. Here's a couple of videos of the install. So this is the A10 array. We're up there aiming it and tuning it and changing these wave guides. The wave guides were a thing. This tuning. When I showed up, Luke had done a preliminary tuning, and it was almost there. But I was just like, "What's going on, man?" And we went back and forth and played with these wave guides, and it was like night and day. I'm against these wave guides now.
I was gonna say you ended up just leaving them wide open, basically not using them.
The two main house center left, house center right hangs we left wide open, and yeah, I don't know. There's something about those wave guides that I wasn't really jiving with. But once we opened it up, and even listening to the dispersion between the speaker, it was fine. It sounded great. But here's our PA. You can see here we had the LED wall up, all the lighting, the stage was going. Yeah, so that was the room there. Oh yeah, okay. You want to get into this?
We should.
Okay.
I mean this. So
this was the addition of a cross,
which was
later in the project added
in.
Church wanted a cross in the room, which makes sense.
Yeah. Again, that's something that was important to them. They wanted it in there.
Right.
So we're like, all right, let's try to figure it out. They wanted us to have lights in that inside that they can control.
Backlight it.
So this was all late in the project.
Yeah.
We didn't have stuff, ready for that. We figured that stuff out, and whether or not we could even get conduit and cable over to it, I don't even know how that happened. But
well, we had an extra. It worked out because we had an extra cable over there because that razor wall, it had another one, but then it was dropped because of this.
Yeah.
And so then essentially we used that cable run for that. Yeah. I mean, either way it was going to happen, but so this was a huge thing. They had some people at the church. I guess they had a cross that was originally from the church.
Right.
I don't know, 30, 40 years ago or something like that.
Right.
And they had it somewhere else. And so they're like, we're going to put it back in.
Yep.
And so they took it and they built a big backing. And the backing that you're going to see here, this big rectangle, it weighed like 400 pounds.
Yeah.
It was unreal.
Yeah, it seemed like when they told us the idea, it seemed like, sure, yeah, whatever, put a cross up, we'll put some lights in it or behind it and you control it and change colors if you want, that kind of thing. But yeah, it turned into a more major ordeal, and then it was really heavy. We ended up having to put lights in it before they hung it up there, and just hope that we were thinking we were thinking we'd put the lights up after it was up.
That's what we thought.
So we could have access to it and mess around with it.
Right.
But that wasn't going to work because of the way it was going to be installed.
Yeah, and it makes sense now that I saw the cross. Like it needed to go in before.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just like a wood cross. It was like a metal piece that was like hollow inside. So you could get in and put the tape in nicely and and build that light trough behind the cross. But like if you talk to Ben on this was the conversation for weeks and weeks and weeks.
I remember,
and weeks.
Yeah.
Well, when's the cross going up? Do we have the lighting for the cross? Like it was a big deal for them.
Yeah.
And so this was the day. And listen, these guys, these volunteers or all these people, they were on site trying to figure out this cross thing for like 2 weeks. Like every day we thought the cross was going up, and they'd come out, they'd like survey, they try and figure it out, and then they leave. Yeah. And then like go back to the drawing board, and then come back and be like, we're going to do it this time. And kept going back and forth. So kudos to them for fighting the good fight.
Yeah. Nothing's ever as easy as it seems. No matter what you do, especially if you're in construction or doing any kind of project like this. Like
Nope. You can't just throw a 400-pound cross up
Especially
on
if
the
it's heavy, yeah.
Yeah, they had to block and make sure that they had structural. We talked to the builders, talked to structural engineers, make sure that it was all good.
Right.
It was a whole deal. Yeah. But this is the moment.
That it goes up.
Finally, we've been waiting for this thing to go up. The raising of the cross, right? And they went up and rigged a cable hoist at the ceiling because they had to lift it, and they had it strapped on and everything. And I'm like, I was just doing something else. I was painting something in the back, and I'm like, oh, I hear something. Let's see what's going on. And this is what I see. So here we go. And being we rig a lot of stuff. This started to get really scary. So it was kind of slipping a bit. The hoist was slipping. And then you had these dudes that run underneath. And so at some point here, I'm like, all right, this is not good. This is not good. This is not good. I'm like, these kids are right underneath it. And so I think right there, I stopped the video and I ran over. And I'm like, all right, wait, everyone stop. I'm like, I think I have a safer way of doing this. And we tied some ropes on it to pull it back. So what happened right there is the bottom edge caught that blocking, and he was about to go up higher. He was going to rip the whole thing down.
Right.
That whole hoist was going to come down.
Yeah.
Or the blocking was going to get ripped out, or the cross thing was going to get destroyed in two. That's what was just about to happen right there. So I was up on the lift with them for like an hour after this, trying to help them out.
Team players.
I'm telling you, it was funny. They had a bunch of jack dudes with cauliflower ears. I'm like,
wrestlers,
fighters. They're all. I'm like, well, y'all hear that we're about to raise a 400-pound cross, and just yeah, I'm in. They all showed up to lift it and to move it around, and they were helpful, but very dangerous to be underneath that thing. Oh my goodness. So yeah, it went well though. Let me see. There it is.
Do we have it?
That's it. So yeah, the cable came in the back, powered the LED strips that we had inside the cross, and that's kind of the final look. Ended up looking good. So this is a week we're programming everything as well. Right. So we are also every piece of gear doesn't typically just work.
Right.
Nothing's like plug it in the wall and oh great, everything's done. Everything has to be programmed or networked. So in today's AVL world, we've all turned into IT engineers. Mm-hmm. It goes with it now. So as much as I miss the glory days of analog audio and just XLR in, sound out, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. So we give ourselves a lot of time at the end of jobs for the commissioning stuff.
Right.
Because it is so involved now. It isn't just as easy as connecting analog cables and seeing signal. It's networks everywhere, all talking to each other, and so it's a lot of time. So after we do all this install portion where we're hanging and doing all that junk, then our commissioning guys come in and they're there. I think they spent almost 3 weeks total, with the last week probably being the heaviest.
Right.
Of just commissioning and getting things turned on and working so that we could have a rehearsal with the church for the first time ever.
I actually think I have the first rehearsal here.
Yeah, there we go.
This is the life of an AVL integrator. This is us at 12 at night, locked out of our Airbnb because the little lock thing wouldn't open.
Oh my gosh.
So we're eating Wendy's on the ground, waiting for some dude to show up to let us in. That's our life.
Typical.
This was the first rehearsal.
These are big nights because
this was a Saturday, I think. Oh, this is the choir rehearsal. Yeah.
I mean, this is the first. So those first rehearsals are when the church is coming in for the first time to go up on stage, the platform.
A lot of nerves, a lot of excitement.
Nothing's really been run through. There's no band that's been playing and you've been tweaking the system. This is the first time ever. So most of the time it doesn't sound that great. Nope. Everyone's ears are messed up. Nobody can hear anything.
Right.
It's our job to kind of let everybody know that's normal.
And coordinate.
This is a normal process. It's going to be a slow night.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah, everyone's going to be waiting around, but we're going to get it together.
Yep.
Because if you don't have that conversation, I'd say probably in our early years, we maybe never had that conversation with people. And those nights were probably like very stressful and frustrating for clients.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking, this thing doesn't even work.
Right.
After all this time, we spent all this money and all this time and nothing works. It sounds terrible. The old
Right.
room sounds better. So yeah, these first rehearsals are very important for us and for them. And we put a lot of effort and time into those
Yep.
these days.
Because there's discovery for us as well.
Yeah,
So
we see all kinds of, I mean,
we don't have a choir
Right.
during the commissioning week.
right.
We don't have the choir till the choir shows up to sing.
Right.
And then now they have monitors that they need. They have this or that. We need to get gain structure on the choir mics. We need to
Right.
EQ it. We need to ring it out. We need to. There's some things we can do ahead of time, but a lot of it, it's with them for the first time.
Right.
And yeah, telling them ahead of time is huge. Being like, listen, this is a slow one.
Right.
This is not a fun, like super dynamic rehearsal. This is like hit the kick,
Yeah.
quarter note for 10 minutes.
Right. And everyone else sit there.
While we EQ it for the first time, we
Right.
check the system, and then we also have people changing their ears and all that stuff.
But this is where we work out those kinks.
Right.
And why our launches on Sunday mornings typically are very smooth and sound good and look good, and everybody
Right.
feels a lot more comfortable. They've had a couple of these kind of rough rehearsals
Yep.
under their belt, and so has the production staff, and so has the musicians and everybody.
Right.
So it's well worth it. But yeah, the communication's a big thing with these nights for sure.
Yep. Actually, I think I had some routing issues at the beginning of this, and there was like a ton of people around. It was getting crazy.
That's another thing on these nights. So it's the first rehearsal, and everybody's excited, which you can understand because
Yeah,
it's
of
the
course.
first time you're in there. So musicians are there. In this case, a whole choir's there as well. But a lot of times, like their families will be there.
Yep.
Everyone's coming to look. There'll be kids running around, screaming, jumping over the chairs because it's a new room they're playing.
Leadership, pastors.
Everyone's watching, and then it's like our first time to really send signal through these systems and see and hear.
Right.
And you're just trying to tweak and EQ, and everything's like happening at once. There's a lot of pressure. And a lot of times, like we said, it doesn't usually sound that great right at the start of this. This is what this is for, to
Right.
make it sound better.
Dial it in.
But yeah, you have all these people there and their expectations. What are they thinking? They're like,
know.
why does it sound like this? You know, why is it not working? Or
That this morning, I was doing some Jedi routing to try and get things going for them because they had a couple specifics that they wanted, and I was trying different things on how we wanted to give them monitors for the choir because this is the first time the choir was there, and they had specific things they wanted.
Yeah.
And at one point, it was so wild in the room, it was so loud, and I'm like, my brain's in like the Matrix world that like it was just not conducive. People are coming up, like saying things, talking, asking
Right.
me a million different other things, and I literally had to tell Ben, I'm like, hey Ben, can I get like 5 minutes in this room alone? And literally, and because otherwise they'd just be waiting there,
Yeah.
and it wasn't going to happen. So they actually, it wasn't at this point. This is after that, but there's a couple people on stage at that point, and so Ben's like, hey, let's all go meet in the back, and they all met in the back, and I'm like, okay, here we go, let's figure this out. It was tough, but
Yeah.
yeah, we got it going. Then they all came back in like 5 minutes later, and we were ready to go.
yeah,
So I think
these nights are important though. I mean,
absolutely,
you don't want to try to do this stuff
first time
the
monitors,
night before launch.
first time everything, man. It's
Yeah, it's gonna be
very
rough.
important. So we had 2 rehearsals. We had a rehearsal with the band for the very first time, and then we had a rehearsal with the choir and the band.
Which is like a luxury. So you got 2
nice.
full rehearsals before launch,
Right.
which is perfect.
Yep.
I mean, if you can make it happen.
We were training the whole time.
Right.
So this is actually after training. We did a massive, we did a training day with staff, and then we did a training night with all their volunteers. During that training night, we did camera op training, video director training, comm training. Audio guys were with me. I did audio this time.
Yeah.
Audio guys with me. I'm teaching them everything. I'm teaching them about the system, but then I'm also they were really hungry to learn.
Right.
They were awesome. They were like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Oh, what's parallel compression? Oh, what's all these things? And I was able to like kind of go through it with them.
Yeah.
And so we set up the board the way they liked it. This is the Avantis, Allen Heath Avantis, which is, one of my favorite consoles for best bang for your buck console on the market right now. 64 by 64, sounds great. Great user interface. Volunteers like it. So So this is, I don't know if everyone can hear that, but
yeah, there's just so much going on these first nights.
Yep.
Emotionally and mentally and
right.
physically and everything. I mean, these people are in the room for the first time hearing it.
Yep.
You know, and
you know what? They weren't used to it. They're used to their smaller room, especially the choir. Because the choir, they don't have in-ears. Everyone else, actually, this is like a big deal for them. Their musicians and stuff weren't used to in-ears either.
Were they not using them before?
I think they had a hybrid thing going on, but I remember them saying like, we're not used to using in-ears and all that.
Right.
So they were using a new monitor system for the first time.
Right.
And actually, we did a clang system.
Right.
We did a clang, Klang,
Yep.
vocal, VOKAL.
Yep.
I don't know. Were they Swedish or something?
I believe so.
Something like that.
I think so.
Which is 3D sound. So 3D in-ear monitors. So because the Avantis only has, to my recollection, an iPad app for monitors. There's a couple third-party iPhone ones, I think, though. But either way, we wanted to give them a separate way that their musicians could just use their phone and make and do their mix. We have a kind of a hybrid thing here, though. We had the front line was on Clang, and the back line was on ME 500s, which is their personal mixers. Mm-hmm. But the Clang IMs is 3D sound. So they are able to move things in front of them, beside them, above them, below them, behind them, like everywhere. And it creates a really large, like sonic scape. They can move things and it just makes more room. Think about mono, everything's in the center. So everything's just like right here.
Right.
Stereo, now you get things over here and everything in between. 3D, everywhere. Right. So you can put your MD over here. You can put an electric guitar way over here. You can take your click and put it way down here. If your drummer's behind you, put all your drums behind you, and it makes it feel like the drummer's right behind you.
Yeah. Now with the technology to do that kind of stuff, why wouldn't you do that? That's amazing sound to have as a musician on stage. Mm-hmm. If you're using in-ears, to have that much control.
Yep.
In this case, it's important for us to help them through that first rehearsals and stuff, because I'm sure it can be overwhelming if you haven't used something like that.
Yep.
So that was another piece that all goes into these rehearsal nights.
Yep. Where
we're just trying to make it the best case scenario for them, right, and not let them get completely overwhelmed with all the new stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was Austin had to preset
a bunch of
all the
mixes.
Yeah, all the Clang stuff. So
basically,
there's a bunch of routing that happens.
Right.
Then you have to make some decisions because of channel bandwidth, count, and everything. But yeah, I think they liked it. All right. Well, what we can do is kind of do a walkthrough.
Yeah.
You want to do a walkthrough of the final product.
Yeah, let's do it.
So 2 years in the making. I took this video the night before the first service. So this is Saturday night. I think this is at like 1 a.m. It was a late night. But no one was there, so it was like it was all clean because it was like, they're just about to do the first service
launching the next
morning. Perfect time to do this. So let's take a watch. So here we have, this is the lobby. Looks real nice.
Yeah.
Here we did distributed audio. So in this room we have a bunch of speakers. We have speakers all throughout this lobby, down the hallway, in the restrooms, outside. There's a bunch of speakers outside on the sides of the building for parking lot speakers and everything. And we tuned it all. In this room, we also have a calibration mic. And that calibration mic takes in the ambient sound of people. So as that lobby gets filled with people, it gets louder.
Right.
And we set our DSP to raise the level of the speakers in that room based off of that ambient sound.
Right.
So as people get louder, the music gets a little louder. And then as they all go into the auditorium and no one's in there, that music comes down. This is a typical...
It's a thing that happens probably to every church in the world, if they have audio in their lobby, is how loud the audio is in their lobby.
Pre-service, everyone's out there. Hey, we can't hear the
loud.
music.
Yeah, so they're cranking the music because there's a lot of people out there are talking.
Yeah.
And everyone goes in the building, in the auditorium, or the sanctuary.
Then you have a hospitality guy come out. Hey, it's crazy
way
loud
too
in the
loud,
lobby.
It's way too loud.
And you have some front of house engineer like, oh, what?
Yeah,
Oh.
they're mixing the service and they're trying to.
And then they're missing mics, like pastors up talking, like, hello,
And they turn it
my mic's
down.
on. Oh.
And then after service, everybody goes out and people run back in. They can't hear any music. You're not playing any music. And so they turn it back up again. I'm sure if you've run audio or anything at a church, you know what we're talking about. It's a constant thing. So yeah, this scenario, this type of technology exists. So you might as well take advantage of it.
Right.
And it can help you out in this type of situation.
Crown Design Group to the rescue. Microphone in the ceiling. Gives you a couple dB up and down before someone complains.
Right.
Just a little bit.
Helps you a little bit.
That's usually a little bit of help. It goes a long way. Oops. So, so we're walking through. We did distributed video to all the classrooms. We did some video feeds to their existing building, which is going to be a phase 2 thing that we're going to be doing with them. They're going to be building out their old auditorium into a youth center. So they had the balloons out. Look at that. That's a finger pointing at a QSC ceiling speaker, people. In fact, that's my finger, just to let you know. That's a key of our logo over a camera shot. Now here we go, the big reveal. I think this room looked awesome.
Looks really good. I love the walls, the sawtooth walls.
Look at that. Look at that.
It's a nice looking room.
Yep.
The clouds really do help a lot.
You can see
that vertical lighting was our idea and something that we did with those sawtooth walls, which I think is really cool.
Yep. I'll pause it here. So yeah, this is the look, man. This isn't the look that they went for Sunday morning. We embellished a little bit. And
they weren't here, so
this is a little more Crown style, but that's the thing about these systems that we put in. They're versatile. You can make it look modern like this, or you can just make it look tradish.
Right.
It's all good. Anything in between. But here you can kind of see the final product, and it looks just like the rendering. I mean, once again.
Yeah, it looks just like the picture.
Yeah, like the plan came together, and this is what it looked like. So let's just keep rock and rolling.
Yep.
We'll stop and we'll start talking about some gear as we see it. I don't want to keep doing that. So yeah, so we used
LED tape in those
LED tape
sawtooth walls
on the edge of the sawtooth.
That was a design thing and a very big coordination thing during construction, because those things had to be built the right way with a track that was the right size. We had to find the aluminum tracks that had to go in and get them on site during construction before everything else, so they can be installed and mudded in. But yeah, that's just tape. It goes back to different DMX controllers and power supplies in the rack room for control, and it looks great.
Yep.
Any color, you know.
You can see the house lights here. These are all these are the Elation
color
pendants, and they are full RGB. Or just RGB? RGB. They're great. We put these things everywhere. Some people, house lights are not built. All house lights are not built equal, and we've
RGBW.
RGBW.
Yep.
All right, sweet. Yeah, they look really good. We've installed thousands of them. Very low failure rate in our installs. We've used other fixtures that have been nightmares. We've put up fixtures that just started to die one by one, and we had to on our dime go back and swap out, upgrade and swap out to a fixture that worked. But that's because a manufacturer said this will work, and then it didn't. And then who's to blame? Us. So we made it happen. So we can also see the acoustical paneling. We did all that, designed it, made sure there's the right percentage for the room, the feeling of the room. So here's front of house. And this is kind of a cool feature. We put a little touch screen on the side of their front of house. So, typically churches, they have other events outside of Sunday.
Right.
They'll have a prayer meeting, or they'll have, in this case, this church does a lot of baptisms on the fly. And instead of having to source and staff an audio engineer, a lighting operator, a video dude, someone that knows how to turn on all the systems, we have automated and programmed a touchscreen to give them simple control of these elements, so that essentially a volunteer could walk in, hit a couple buttons here, grab a microphone, and do whatever they want.
Right.
They've got box music. They've got Spotify here.
Yep.
They've got 2 microphones that go directly to the PA through our processor, not through a console. They don't have to turn on the audio console. They don't have to turn on the lighting console. They don't have to turn on any switcher. They don't have to do anything. They just have to show up, click a button here, and they can control the room. So in this case, they don't even have to go up onto front of house.
Right. Yeah, this is great. That's a great feature. There's a lot of work in that, in the back end of that.
Yep. A lot of programming.
Make all that happen.
A lot of programming.
It just seems like, but we do get that a lot now. Hey, I just want to be able to push a button and turn stuff on.
Makes sense.
Because that you can do that in your houses and your cars and whatever now. So they want those features.
This is also a benefit of everything being networked, and then being able to utilize our DSP. In this case, it's QSYS.
Yep.
We use that to do a bunch of automation and control, because all the audio is networked. Now it's in Dante. So you can just grab it off a Dante controller and throw it in there, and then do a quick EQ and compression, and they'll have it, and it sounds great.
Yeah.
So this made it super easy. They don't even have to go up to front of house. They just go to the side of it. Click, click, click. All right, we could do a little prayer meeting. Or we're doing a quick baptism or whatever.
Yeah, very hard for a volunteer to screw that up too. So they're not going to come up and start twisting knobs and change all your settings on your consoles or mess up your routing or whatever.
We actually have a lock screen on this too, so we can lock it down, and then you could have a password just for specific volunteers or whatever. So yeah, you can see that. So here's the front of house area. Yeah, right here. You can see those are the 2 mics. So yeah, so those are the 2 mics that they just have living up there at all times, and they can grab it and bring it up on that screen.
Yeah.
We've got a little front house camera. As we'll see, we built a production suite, and it was a little different for them. They weren't used to that. They were doing their switching somewhere else, not in the main room, but most of their production team was in that front of house in the main room.
Right.
So for this project, we broke that up.
Right.
We have a couple positions at front of house, and then we have a couple positions in a production suite that you'll see that's where they live.
Yeah.
With that, now you have a disconnected team.
Yeah.
You got to have comms so that they can communicate, and these room cameras help them to be able to see, where's the audio engineer? And they look, he's at front of house right now. Good. I can quickly call him. So that's what that is. And they liked it in that position. So here, this is a position for a producer. Once again, this was a new position for them. They didn't have a producer.
Right.
And a service producer is someone that is the eyes and ears of a service. So they are the ones that are making the final calls. Yep. They're typically just taking it all in and making sure that the service is going according to plan. But this is their position where they can have a multi-view and look at cameras, look at different things popping up, preview program, and make sure that everything's going according to plan.
Yeah, it's a good area of growth for them. That producer position is a good area to grow in for anybody. The
more complex that production comes,
right,
the more key it is to have that hierarchy.
Someone needs to have an idea of what's going on and what's going to happen 5 minutes from now, and be ready and cueing everybody and being on comm. Hey, this is coming up. Don't forget, we're doing this transition. Yeah, I mean, and there's probably lots of churches that don't do that. It would be beneficial if they did, even on smaller scale.
Yeah, even for church leadership, like a pastor or something. For them to have one person that they have to talk to. And it could be a trusted person where they don't have to sugarcoat things. The pastor usually has to be like, oh, thank you so much for helping, but can you do this for me?
Right.
It's good to have a really quick, concise line of communication to a producer that understands your heart as a pastor and understands the vision, but also understands that communication in live production has to happen quick, and it has to happen very concisely. So like a real quick message over comm. Hey, it's too loud.
Right.
Not, hey, you're doing such a great job at sound today. I'm so thankful. But hey, can you turn it down just a smidge? Your producer can do that.
Yeah.
Let the pastor be like, hey, it's a little too loud. Or hey, there's something going on. Hey, I'm about to go up on stage. Hey, I want this in my notes. Real quick. Then that communication hierarchy starts happening on comm.
Yeah. Especially if they make a call on the fly.
That's what live production is, man.
So great to have somebody there.
Yeah. I'll show you this too here. We put a little button on the back of this display, and we have a KVM that goes to their graphics machine. So they have 2 locations that they can do their pro presenter position. So if for some reason they didn't want to have their graphics operator in the
suite,
the production suite, they could just like a smaller little
smaller service,
whatever.
Yeah.
They could be out here and just do it here with the front of house people.
Yeah.
They don't have to be in the back.
Cool.
So that was a little button that goes in between a multi-view and the graphics machine, which is ProPresenter, Renewed Vision. So you can see that KVM. There's our comm. So this is actually front of house comm. So you can see here we have a beacon and a handset and then a Gringo panel for the front of house engineer. So if you want to talk to him, tell him how amazing his mix is and how no one's complaining about how loud it is and how precise and perfect it is. You can call him,
give him
a ring, and this goes bat phone red. You pick up the phone and hello. Oh, thank you so much for telling me how great my mix is. You didn't have to call me all this way and tell me that. I'm only here to serve.
I don't think you ever hear that on comm.
Nope, never. So that's that there. Then we have the Avantis. We put a front of house computer here. So this is a computer that's essentially just for the engineer here. They're running Spotify on it right now. But typically we'd have smart room analyzation software. We didn't do it on this project, but we'd have a calibration mic. They'd be able to view and look at frequencies in the room. And do other things. Everything's networked once again, so this connects to their production network. We set up like multiple different networks for these projects. Production networks, worship SSIDs, Dante, SACN, all these different protocols over the same switches. And having a computer that can touch and connect to all of them is very important.
Yeah.
There's a iPad for them to run it. So this is more comm for lighting. Here we go, the lighting stuff.
Yeah, we use Jans Vista. I think they just call it Vista now.
Vista.
Minus the Jans. But great software-based lighting program. Very visual, so you can kind of see all your fixtures easily. You can just grab and select things you want to do and make cues. Yep. Pretty simple setup. It can be as complicated as you want it to be. If you want to get complicated, you can do it. You can add consoles with it and everything, controllers. Or you can just do a setup like this where it's just a software base on a computer.
Right.
And you're able to obviously make cues ahead of time and label them very easily. Very visual, like I said, for a volunteer to come in and see a service kind of mapped out with certain things, marked, and easily play through cues that you built during the week.
Right.
So yeah, it's great for volunteers because it is a simple program to use and set up. But you can be a pro level as well and get absolutely nuts with it if you wanted to.
Yep.
But that's what we put in here. That controls all their lighting, so they have control of everything with this.
They went from like a little thing with like
had like four faders.
It was like house lights on, down, stage lights on, down, like track lighting.
To this, where they have control of every single light in the room individually.
Which was overwhelming for them.
I bet,
so what we did was Matt Stuff, once again, the lighting guru that he is, set up a bunch of really great cues.
Right.
That would lend itself to any service. And so he had like, I don't know,
certain songs, slow songs, fast songs.
8 cues that...
video cues.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Because they had a lighting operator for the first time.
Right.
They never had a lighting operator.
Right.
They had someone just kind of reach over quick and do that. So this is a whole new thing. With all that control comes a little bit more complexity. But we tried to simplify it and just give them cues that'll work for until they want to do more.
Right.
They can do more later.
Right.
Or they just keep doing this and bring up a fader every once in a while and
Right.
click next cue, next cue, next
But this
cue.
gives you all that control, and it's not it's an inexpensive way of doing it, especially with just the software and computer setup.
Right.
So not a lot of money in, but you have a lot of control and abilities. You
Right.
can grow into it, get crazy with it if you want.
Yep. And then we have this is our chaos.
Yep.
So this is playing video, but it's sending the video out to these pixel bars in the background.
Yep.
This way we could have the same background image that they're say using on the LED wall.
Right.
It's going to these pixel strips that are pixel mapped.
Right. So you at least get the colors and that same kind of vibe. It looks like it almost spreads out from the screen.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to see actual video image on those pixels because they're big pixels.
Right.
But still, it does look like a more like a splash out of the stage, you know, off to the sides to fill those voids, those black voids.
And that's controlled by the lighting console. So it's almost like having a dimmer bank.
Yep. You just patch in some dimmers on your lighting controller, and then you can control those faders via a dimming circuit, basically from your lighting controller. You can control those RKOS fixtures, and you can build it into your cues.
We had 3 cameras in the room. That was camera 3 right here. It's on the side. They built this like pretty wild camera platform. Yep. Coming around, there's a room camera, and then here are camera 1 and 2. So these are their main center tight and center wide. You have the model on this? Is that on there?
Yep. I'll just head it up.
So this is Blackmagic camera.
Blackmagic.
It's the 6K studio camera. Is it the studio broadcast? What is it?
Sorry.
It's all good. This was a camera that came out about a year ago, I think. It's their new upgraded sensor size for their studio camera, I think.
Studio camera 6K Pro.
Studio camera 6K Pro. So very affordable studio camera that works with the lenses that we wanted to use. So we use these Canon lenses. I think we had a 70 to 200. Is that what it is? And then
18 to 80.
18 to 80s.
And 70 to 200. Yeah.
See the zip tie? See that?
Yeah.
Horrible, right? This
that the cable?
This Y cable.
Yeah.
This ICANN Y cable would not work. All 3 cameras, and we tried to save them a little bit of money on the ICANN version than the Zacuto version. These little cables like $500. The other one's like $900.
Yeah.
Well, these did not seat correctly, so we have the Zacutos coming out there that'll seat correctly, but that's why I had to zip tie. But I cut the end off, so see, I'm clean.
It's clean.
Yep. So yeah, we had 3 cameras, 3 main manned cameras on tripods. Camera 1, 2, 3, which was like a center tight, center wide, and a side wide. And then we had a couple cameras on stage, which were just the same small ADA cameras. Just we had one on the keyboard and one in the drums, and we had one over the baptismal tank. Yep. So here are the camera locations. A custom panel for I/O, so all the camera stuff just hits there. Connects in network comm, everything else. Tally and all that information's over the SDI. So it has focus assist. So it was a whole thing. This was all brand new stuff for them. They had to learn how to use these cameras, and they did a great job.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so now we're going into the production suite. So this is right behind front of house, and that was a perfect little turn there by me and my gimbal. But yeah, let's look at this here. So this is their production suite. We have a bunch of multi-view displays with different things on it. They've got some speakers for listening to the system, listen to whatever's going through front of house, or even this mix here, this broadcast mix. But yeah, this was a whole new thing. So they had more positions in here. This is where let's go through here. Actually, let me see all the positions. I think I will kind of do a slow walk here. Yeah, of course I did. There we go. All right, so there's some comm packs. So this is the GreenGo. We used GreenGo comm over IP. It's our go-to comm over IP solution. That means that the comm is just over a network. You need to add more, you hit on the network, configure it, put it in whatever groups you want, and call it a day.
Yeah, that was a game changer. I mean,
2-wire and 4-wire.
It wasn't that long ago when it was like 2-wire, 4-wire.
Right.
And some giant kind of brain matrix thing. If you wanted more channels, it was nuts.
Right.
Now it's all network stuff, and you can have, I forget how many channels you can have on this thing. A lot.
Yeah, a lot. Here was camera control. So this is for shading. This is for iris control of the cameras. It's pretty easy with Blackmagic stuff because it's all like their own little system.
Right.
So this communication goes over SDI to the camera return, and then they can control the iris, which is pretty much all they have to do here.
Yeah.
You don't want them doing much more than that.
Right.
Someone ruined a screen, by the way. We got to get an RMA. It was perfectly fine, and then after rehearsal night, after the first rehearsal night, there's like a big thumbprint thing here, and the screen was broken. Not a touch screen, apparently.
They touched very hard.
They very touch screened it, and it's not a touch screen. More comm, battery packs for the wireless stuff. Here's our video switcher. So this is just a controller for their ATEM Constellation. So their ATEM Constellation's Blackmagic product. It's pretty basic.
Yeah.
The Constellation's nice because it actually has scaling in it. So like anything you send it, typically everything has to be the same resolution. If you're running 1080i 5994 or whatever, everything has to be it, or else you don't even see it.
Yeah.
With Constellation now, it does scaling on
That's
the input,
nice.
so you can kind of send it anything. I think it's still probably good to keep all your standards the same. I'm sure there's some benefit of that, but this was a new thing too. So now they had, they used an ATEM before, but not a panel, and we had a couple different things here. They had multiple different outputs that they had to deal with. So they had a key and a fill. They had a program. They had a lobby. They had the LED wall. Like they had all these different layers that we had to train them on and like set up.
Right.
So ME1 went to broadcast for their online service.
Yeah.
And then ME2 was just to their LED wall. And they wanted to do like picture in pictures and all that stuff. So here's a ProPresenter graphics. So this is the same graphics machine that you just saw at front of house. It's just over a KVM. So actually this computer's in a rack in the back, and then they're controlling it from here. More comm. So here's our online position. They don't have the biggest online audience. It wasn't as big a priority as some of our other projects. That's why it's typically we'd build a completely separate room for audio, for broadcast audio. We'd do a control room looks like a studio control room. Mm-hmm. It's built acoustically and everything. They didn't need it. They felt like we need a place where we can quickly monitor it, but we'll have a volunteer usually on headphones, and they do a mix, and we're good to go.
And that makes sense for them.
Yep.
That's where they are. So
this is the SQ6 that we had sold them like a couple years ago
for their other room.
Yeah. So then we now reutilized it in this room with a Dante card, a couple speakers, set it up. I set this thing up to look exactly like the front house console. So you could have, they're different. It's a different console, but the layout is almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
So they like that. So you can see here, whoop, and that was my gimbal dying. Couldn't figure out a gimbal. Let me keep going here. So yeah. So here are some of the cameras. You can see here we have the keys shot. We got the baptism shot. They put a big chunk of wood over there for safety. A drums shot. Let me see here. Media players, stage display, a room camera thing. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really, really. I mean, you could just see everything. So this is their touch screen in there. So they have control over their speakers in the room, volume, but they can also bring up different sources. So they could bring up, and they could just decide what they want to listen to. So if they want to listen to the mix in the room, that SQ6, they can bring it up here. If they want to listen to the front of house mix, they listen in here. Or if they just want to listen to whatever. we made some buttons for automating the source to send to online. So, you know, typically you might be down an engineer and not have someone in this room.
Right.
So what do you do for online?
Right.
Well, this button here will just put front of house online.
Yeah, that's nice.
So QSys once again, touchscreen, bunch of custom programming. We looked at that again. This gimbal thing was killing me. But yeah, let's move into the room. Let's talk about the room. So I'm going to walk down here. So we had some front light pipes. We had 2 front light pipes, one closer, one further back for different angles. We put a bunch of movers up there too. That's what's doing those the gobos on the side walls, which was pretty cool. They didn't want to give her with that. Here are the speakers, as you can see. So this is the house left, house center right, house right, A10 configuration. Something here too. We did. I forgot to say we did LED tape along the edge of their sub bunkers too, along the edge of the stage.
Right. Same kind of vibe as the walls.
Yeah.
But up and underneath. Again, another big coordination thing with making sure that was in place. And
yeah, it looked really good.
Yeah, it looks great.
We called out for this. What's the word?
Like a grate type finish.
It's a speaker grill.
Yeah.
It's like a grill. It's like a massive speaker grill. So all the air from the subs and from the front fills, move freely through that perforated metal.
Yeah, sometimes they don't really care. They just look at the front of the speakers or something like that.
Yeah, they just have it open to the world. I like showing them off. I like speakers.
New Hope wanted more of a finished look, so
yeah,
we went with that vibe.
Yeah, so they have RGB control of all the side lights, the cross there. Here's our LED wall.
It's another Abson wall.
Abson.
Yep.
Shout out Smile once again. What panel was this? Do you know?
This was a 3.9.
A 3.9.
Yep. And it's a bigger pixel pitch than our last project we did. But because of the size and the distance from the seating, and meeting budgets, it was fine. It worked great.
Yeah.
Looks good in the room. It's a good size.
We went back and forth with them a lot on
we had
projectors versus LED wall. They were afraid of LED wall because of all the mega church connotations.
Right.
Because of like videos like our last one.
And we did other LED wall designs for this room with other pieces, other screens, not just a center.
Right.
But I think it was just a bit too much for them.
Yeah.
And so they just went down to a single screen.
This is the only way this was going to work because their choir is right in front of that.
Yeah.
And they're choir heavy. So try shooting a projector at them and
it
try
wasn't
lighting
gonna
a choir with a projector screen behind you.
Right.
It wasn't going to happen.
No.
So, this ended up being the only way to do it.
Yeah. And then on those sides, we ended up using those pixel bars.
Right.
To just fill those voids.
Right. Yep, up the stairs here. Ben, you want to check your camera there real quick? All right, we're back. Technical difficulty number 1 achieved. Complete. Okay, so we're backstage here. And what we have here is a multi-view backstage. This is really helpful for teams waiting to come up on platform. They can see here. They can see a countdown, all that stuff. So that's backstage. They have kind of like a little tool center. Bunch of extra cables and all that jazz back here.
Yeah, you don't have to peek around the curtain.
Right. That's
worth the TV.
Yep. So this is actually a two-purpose room here. We have this is all that low voltage lighting in that room. That's all
that LED tape.
LED
in the walls
tape
and under the stage.
Power supplies and drivers for it all.
Yep.
And it looks like, if you don't know what you're looking at, it looks like a nightmare, but
it looks good.
It looks really good, yeah. Matt's stuff and the team. But it's also an ISO booth. So we have here a couple guitar amps with reamp, DIs, and all that stuff. And we have a custom panel in here you're going to see. So what we did was we set up a couple patch bays. So they have on stage, they have floor pockets, and each floor pocket we populate it with a bunch of different I/O. So we put XLR inputs and outputs. We put video SDI inputs and outputs. We put network connections, all these things, and lighting, SACN, DMX, all this stuff in these floor pockets. They're the connections to the brain in the rack room. I mean, I know you know this, but I'm telling all the people. Yeah. So we had a patch bay for all those inputs on stage to go backstage, and then it went from there to this ISO booth send. Yep. Where we then reamped the guitar signal to the amp, and then we mic'd the amps here. Yeah, that's cool. So we had 2 mics on each amp. This is a nice Morgan amp. It sounded good. So we have a 57, and I think is it a 181? Do you have the list in front of you? That's the 181, I believe.
Oh yeah, we provided a lot of that stuff for them this time. Yeah, they bought new mics, which is nice.
Yeah, we did all the backline stuff.
So, yeah, 181.
Yep. So there's the 181s. We did all the drum mics and everything. So now we're gonna go backstage through a dark abyss, apparently. So we have a couple lights back there. It was in like program mode, but you can turn it up. So back here is actually our this is our green room. So this is a little green room for the choir and for the worship team to hang out in between services or before service. So they have a piano there that they can kind of play music that goes through our system. Some speakers to listen to the program, a multi-view so that they can kind of know what's going on. They can choose different video to go here. So we set them up with a touch screen again. It's over here actually. I think I'll show it. There's a custom panel with some I/O, and then there's some comm, so they can call. Hey, y'all are up in Keys Q, get up there. What are you doing? They'll drop their coffee. Oh no, run!
They should not be late to anything if they have a video screen.
That's true.
I mean, if they're sitting there watching, I mean,
they're socializing.
You're cutting out your excuses once you have that screen there.
Right.
You can watch the service and hear the service.
Yeah. So here they have different things to look at on the TV, and then they have different audio sources, which is very helpful for them. They can just bring it up, do whatever they want in there. Right. There it is. Looking nice. Luke did some amazing programming for this. He's the commissioning guru. He made it happen. So in here is the rack room and electrical room. Ooh, there we go. Camera shot.
Nice.
There we go.
I don't know if you do that on purpose, but it worked.
I do everything on purpose. I never do anything by accident. So these are the equipment racks. This is the brain of it all. So you can see here we have, there's our QSYS. That's a Dante unit for the comm, the green go. So we could get program in and out, or like audio in and out of comm. Yeah. So that if they had like a music director or a click track, like your lighting op could be listening to that at the same time that the band's listening to it. Yeah. So like everything's on cue.
That's so nice.
Right. Microphones. You know what microphone? Those are just QLXDs, right?
QLXDs. That's Clang. That's the monitor system we talked about earlier.
Yep.
3D monitoring system.
Yep.
And in your wireless monitors under there.
Yep. Looks all nice and clean. Yeah, Q server. That's our architectural control for lighting.
Yep.
So that's running scenes when, essentially in this room, you can walk in without lighting console on, and we have our products, our LS1, our Crown Design LS1,
right?
Light switch, push button, in different places in the room, and they can just turn on and off a scene, and we create that custom scene.
Right.
But then when the lighting console turns on, it grabs control of all the lighting. And then now those switches don't work. So we have a product here called the MS1, which is our main station for the lighting switch. And those come here, and then they talk to our architectural controller.
Which is a must-have.
A must-have, yep. There's a node. Here's our patch bays. This is just XLR patch bays to get stage inputs. And then we have our DT16.8s. So these are Dante-enabled digital snakes.
Yeah.
Which are like one of my favorite new things over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's great.
They're Dante, but you control the preamps by the console. So I think it's called DDR, something or other. Some technical term. We have the amps.
Acoustic amps.
Acoustic amps. So we use this new one, the LA 7.16i.
Yeah.
So it is a 16 channel.
That's nuts.
Amp. Yeah. And those are powering every speaker in the air.
Right.
So all
1 amp.
Yeah. All, what is it? 4, 8. All 16. 16 speakers.
Yeah.
So every single one of those channels on that amp is powering one of those main PA.
That's cool.
Yep. UPS at the bottom. I forget if I did the other side very well. I forget if I got more shots of the side, but yeah. Crown Switch Series MS1 coming to a store near you soon.
Love it.
Oh, I got some back shots. They put a UPS system in there. It's way bigger than anyone had ever told us.
Yeah.
They said it was going to be on the wall. It's like on the floor. There's a little behind the rack, real clean. Everything on lace bars, nicely organized. That's the stuff that takes time. All those looms and everything.
Yeah.
We call it a rack troll.
Rack troll.
Austin Tieford, our resident rack troll.
Because he lives back there if we're on an install, we might not see him for days.
Yeah.
He's just in this little hole in the dark with a light on,
right,
like a cave.
Yep.
And he became known as the rack troll.
Yep.
It's important though.
On this side, we have our networks. So we have an ingest for like a bunch of wireless access points, and that was given to us. We had to coordinate with their IT dude,
right,
on that. So they wanted specific things for them, specific whatever. There was a lot of coordination.
Another level of coordination.
Yeah, their IT team, which was fine.
Yeah,
so
it worked out.
Yep. So that's their stuff, and then we have our network switches. You can see all of our patch cables. They're all different colors, and those colors all notate what VLAN we're using.
Yes.
So I think red is audio, yellow is lighting, green is comm, blue is just production.
Nice.
So we programmed all those VLANs. That was MEU for their ME500s. Down here you can see that's their graphics computer. Bunch of Blackmagic stuff all in one place. That stuff always looks good racking it together.
Right.
Though it does get hot. Bunch of embedders, disembedders, the switcher itself, and then a router, send things around. We did a video SDI patch bay, and that was so that all those floor pockets could land somewhere and not be used, because you're not going to use all those floor pocket inputs.
Right.
But you can always swap things around and send it. And then down here you've got LED wall processor and some amps for distributed audio. Once again, that's feeding speakers in the lobby and outside. Yep. And then our server, our CROWNCAST server. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the walkthrough, man.
Nice.
Yep.
It's a cool project.
Yeah. I've got some pictures of launch. You want to see them?
Yeah.
So this is first service stuff. Let's take a look. So these
Packed house.
It was packed.
Yeah. They did 2 services.
Yep. That's the commission team. We're on site. Super tired. They both did an awesome job though. Both Luke and Austin. The whole team did great.
Yep.
Everyone, the install crew. So we had multiple people up there at multiple different times.
Yep.
They did an amazing job. It's kind of tough because the install guys are like Keegan, like the designing. They don't really get to see the final product. It's like the commissioning team,
especially out of state like that.
Out of state, yeah. Yeah, sometimes we have
it's in Florida. We try to say, "Hey, everybody, come to open."
Yeah,
week.
come. Let's go see.
That's important to see the final thing and
right.
see everybody in there and see it actually working.
Yeah, but this was after couple weeks of late nights, making it happen into first service. So yeah, this was one of the first services. You can see the lighting and everything is much more tame than our like pink blue.
But it shows you what you can do. I mean,
yeah,
a lot of times people don't understand. They get an RGBW light or whatever, and they think you just have the color options or whatever. But there it is. You know, you can make it look completely normal if you want, and then go crazy with it whenever you want to.
Yep. This is our front of house crew. So these are all volunteers that we were training all week. I mean, can you guess who the front of house engineer is?
I see him.
He was awesome. He was great.
They have a look.
They have a look.
Audio guys have a look a lot of times.
Longer the beard, the better the ear.
Especially if they've been in the game for a long time. They start looking the same.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Kind of molds them into a front of house engineer. But yeah, he did a great job. He was really open. We had probably like 4 engineers out that took the training and went through, and he's running service, and he did a great job.
Nice.
So you have Carol Wheat is on the left there. She drove Luke. Hero Luke Wheat had to go to a wedding that weekend.
The day before.
And so that night he drove from Virginia all night to get here at like 4 a.m. to be here for the parking lot
for a couple hours. And
that's the Crown. That's the Crown Design Group standard right there. So, so here's the engineer. What am I saying? Here's a production suite. So all volunteers, no paid production staff. So they're running this show all on their own. Camera ops, video directors, engineers on shading, online mix, everything.
Yeah, that's great. And you're going to need it. I mean, obviously you're not going to have a staff of 12 people or whatever,
right?
You know, just to run this stuff. So, and it's all new, so that's fresh and exciting probably for them. They've been watching this building get built for a year and a half,
right?
And now, you know, everyone's pumped and ready to volunteer and learn.
Yep.
So,
yep.
But yeah, they're in a production suite for the first time too.
Yep.
You know, they're used to being in the room. A lot of new stuff, a lot of new systems, a lot of new positions.
Yep. But we dialed in an online mix on the SQ. Sounded good.
Yeah.
So it's rocking and rolling. You know, I try and tell them too. I said, this is the worst it should sound. Like for a first run through, like getting this, we're really good at setting up a console for the first time because we do it so often.
Right.
Like every time we're in front of a console, pretty much, it's like getting signal through for the first time.
Right.
Setting it up, doing EQs real quick, and we can get it to a really good baseline. But then we tell these engineers, like, listen, you got to keep tweaking, you got to keep manipulating, you got to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And we save all these files because then they get desk drift where someone jacks something up real bad. Like, oh yeah, we need to do this. It's like, no, you don't. But they can always go back in a digital file, pull it up, and they'll have
start with the baseline.
What we did, yeah.
But yeah, it is important to grow. Every week, you're trying to get a little better each time on every position.
Right. Never ends. Yeah. Sound never ends. Production never ends. You got to keep honing your skills.
Yeah.
It's an art. So yeah, they did a great job. They're all eager to learn. They're all using like the new hierarchy of communication that we taught them. So hanging out in the green room, post service. This is the first. They had a baptism I got here. It's kind of cool. Some parents baptizing a kid.
Cool.
But we did a picture-in-picture on the LED wall for them. They wanted that. And we have some mics. You can actually see it here. We have a couple of little mics mounted right by the baptistry.
Yeah, again, it looks good.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see a lot of baptistries built in a church building anymore.
Yeah, we're usually taking them out.
A lot of times they're coming out, and churches have baptism services where they'll set up like a temporary baptistry or whatever. But this New Hope, you know, wanted to have an actual baptistry in their building.
Right.
So it was another kind of cool feature in this room that we don't do a lot of.
Yeah.
But we had to have lighting for it.
Right.
We had to have mics there and camera shots and everything.
Yep. Yeah, it was kind of a cool thing to see. Like that was at the end of the services, and you know, kind of brought it all together. Like, oh, what is this all about? You know, families.
Yeah.
It's about, you know, faith.
Yeah.
And you got to see it all in one day. It's kind of cool.
No, it's great. And really cool job.
Yeah.
Really cool looking room. I think they have a ton to learn and to grow into, like we talked about, so many systems, but they're set up in a way where they can have service without us. You know, they're on their own next week already, and they're going to, their volunteers will be there, and all the systems will be in place, and they can have their service, and they'll grow with it and tweak and tweak and tweak and get better and better.
Yep.
That's the name of the game with production and these things.
So this project went about as good as it can go.
I mean,
those services that Sunday morning, not one little glitch, which is, you know, technology, it happens.
Yeah.
But nothing happened. Like, it was amazing. Like, I was just waiting for something bad to happen.
Right.
And the pastor came up and he's like, if there was a snafu, I didn't see it. I'm like, I don't think there was. Everything went perfect. It went really well. Everyone loved it. Everyone was just saying how clear it sounded. How it looked. It looked amazing. Felt like home. It felt like an extension of their family, like an extension of their other room, but like modernized.
Yeah, we completed the job really well.
Yep.
From the very beginning. I mean, at the beginning of the podcast, we're going through the design from the very, I mean, that's just drawings on paper.
Right.
You know, and then all that coordination through construction, getting our hands on all this equipment, getting it installed.
Right.
And then all that time we spent on the commissioning side of things, putting extra time in there and spending the extra time on the rehearsals, you know, to really make sure everybody's comfortable and feels good. I mean, that's a lot of extra time up front, a lot of extra effort up front.
Right.
But then you see the result of it at the end, where everything plays out so well on their opening day and everybody feels great about it and feels good, even though it's all new and tons of new systems and things to learn, but everybody feels comfortable enough to take it on and go for it.
Yep. Turned out awesome. Yeah. So big thanks to all the trades that put in time,
right? All
the builders, the church staff for working with us, for trusting us with their home, with their church home. You know, it's a lot to, you know, outsource so much to some crazy company from Florida.
I know.
But big thanks to everyone that helped on that project, and our team killed it.
Yep.
They're the best. Everyone that worked on that, David, Keegan, Cleto, Luke, Austin, Matt, Keegan.
Tyrone.
Did I say Keegan already?
Yeah.
Tyrone, buddy.
Shout
out Tyrone, dude.
Local guy helped us out a lot of times on
local
install
dude
weeks.
Helped us. He was a great helper. He's a former engineer for GM, the nicest dude in the world. Tyrone, his skin complexion is lighter than you'd think, but he's I loved him, man. He was so helpful. He was just a great support on site. So Tyrone, I met with him in between services just to tell him thanks, but thanks again, buddy. You did a great job. The whole team, Ben, thanks again for having us, you know, put this together for you.
Yeah, it takes everybody. It takes all these people. Everyone has a role in it.
Yeah. Teamwork makes the dream work. So,
all
right, cool. Well, that's episode 2. So hope you liked it. Let us know what you think. Like and subscribe, please.
Send your questions, comments, whatever you want us to talk about, something specific. We'll do it.
Yep, and we'll keep doing project breakdowns and whatever else. So, also, Crown Design Group, AVL Integration. We are the premier. We are actually the best AVL integration company on earth.
On earth.
According to my mother. So if you need anything, audio, video, lighting, if you're doing a project like this, we'd love to help you.
Yep. We
We are based in Bradenton, Florida, but we're all over the place. So we're all over Florida.
Here's proof. We work out of state, and we can do a great job at it, too.
We can fly a plane at least to Indiana at this point. Actually, we've done California, too, so we've been all over the place. But, anything audio, video, lighting, sales, support. We have a support line, CROWNCARE. CROWNCARE.help. Just go to that website if you need anything. If you are in a bind, it's a 24/7 support network, essentially. So you can jump on there, put in emergency support, and within a half hour, we're going to have a technician call you and help fix whatever's going on. We've seen it all.
Yep.
we have a pretty good idea of what might be going wrong and can at least point you in the right direction or fix it on right there.
Yeah.
So Crown Care, Crown Design Group, Crown Empire Growing, CROWNCAST, episode 2 in the books.
That's right.
Love y'all.
Peace out.